Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Invisible Walls, episode 146 here on GameTrailers.com. Guys, how did the code giveaway go last week?
Which code giveaway are you talking about? You're talking about Kevin Butler's code giveaway?
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about
we had lots of answers, a lot of wrong answers, some right answers. I think my favorite question was right after the Super Bowl ended, I said, reply happy or sad. How does Shane feel about the Super Bowl? And some people put happy, and I was like,
they must not
didn't
have
even listen to the show.
Yeah, apparently not.
Yeah.
But went off without a hitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite question other than that one? What was the toughest question?
My first question was I was trying to reward long-time IW listeners, and I said, what game did Justin call the Japanese Half-Life? And no one got it.
Breakdown?
Yeah, no one got it for the first 10 minutes, and then I said, it's an Xbox One game made by Namco, and then the Google searches went off. I know Bloodworth used to do trivia from another place you worked, right? And it's like people get that stuff that.
I would be amazed. People would have the answer half a second after I post the question. How did you do that?
Next time we should do something fun, like hide a code under a rock next to a phone booth or something fun around Los Angeles.
We should hide it in Ryan's pants.
Yes, I agree.
For the
Good
5
idea.
female listeners of Invisible Walls only.
Hi, Mom.
So this week we actually have a lot of really great topics to talk about. There's a bunch of stuff going on through the legal system with Sony and YouTube and LG, all kinds of nutty stuff going on. A lot of good games to talk about this show too. We're going to talk about, a game that I'm not all that hyped for, but you guys obviously are because we put up a preview yesterday and it went through the roof.
It's going to be fucking awesome.
Dragon Age 2, we're going to talk about today. Bloodworth, who is sitting in along with us today, actually got to go check the game out, and he also created the preview that you're seeing on the site right now, so we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about Dark Souls, the sequels to Demon Souls, lots of stuff to get to, and here to talk about it all, as you've already heard, is Marcus Beer.
I just want to say, unlucky Wales last week, and big ups to Liverpool. I'm sorry about your sporting disaster over the weekend, Shane, but at least one of my teams won.
I'm still in denial. I don't even know what you're talking about. Daniel Bloodworth is also on the show today.
Hey, how's it going?
And Ryan Stevens.
Pork chop sandwiches.
And we'll be bringing in Brooks Huber a little bit later.
Your men are dead, and your trap has failed. I suggest running back to your master while you can.
First up on the docket, Dragon Age 2. Now, Bloodworth convinced me that I'll like Dragon Age 2 more than I liked Dragon Age 1. If you can.
You didn't like Dragon Age 1?
Well, no.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Instead of that, Bloodworth, talk to me about Dragon Age 2, because I fucking love Dragon Age 1.
Yeah, well, this is interesting because this is one of the ones where, actually, both of the games I saw this week, I hadn't played the first games. Jumping into it and trying to get a feel for things, and plus the way they had it set up was interesting because they had 3 different parts from the first act of the game. They let you start off at the very beginning of the game and kind of, create your character and let you see how things start, and then they kind of jump you to a completely different situation and jump you to a totally different situation after that. So
what's the setup on the game? I mean, does it follow on directly from the end of Dragon Age 1? I mean, the Blight and the Darkspawn, are they, gone and they're coming back? How does it work?
It's right in the middle of Origins. So when the Darkspawn are attacking Lothering, your character is one of the families that's fleeing there, and actually one of the things they said, I didn't get to test it out, they said that when you change your appearance, it'll change the appearance of your family members as well.
Interesting.
They kind of extrapolated off of that.
Fallout did that a little bit, Fallout 3.
Oh yeah, but yeah, so you're kind of, you're on the run, and then you kind of establish yourself in a new town and eventually become the champion and start going from there. So it kind of almost feels a little bit like the setup for the last Fable game.
Did you get to experience any of the kind of Rashomon stuff they were doing, where how stories are told about you will change how your character is perceived? Did that come across?
No, nothing like that. I mean, it is kind of, because it's taking place over this 10-year time span. The game actually starts off with one of your companions being interrogated by somebody, and he's telling your story. And at first off, he starts telling it like you're this super awesome guy, but then they no, tell it straight. And so that you kind of play through the first boss fight twice in the first 20 minutes of the game.
Now, to break Marcus's heart, you played it on the 360, right?
Yeah,
I actually played Dragon Age on the 360 because my PC wasn't powerful at the time.
Start posting your comments now.
I have pre-ordered actually both versions. 360 and PC.
Why?
Well, I mean, the last Dragon Age, the PC version was actually a lot more tactical than the 360 version.
Had that overhead view.
Yeah, so I actually want to try them both out this time.
Yeah, I originally wanted to go in there on PC, but just for equipment and direct feed purposes, it's a lot simpler for me to just go on 360. And I think that's really probably where the game's changed the most, is in making that combat more immediate and more kind of actiony. You know?
So you weren't pausing every eighth of a second?
No, I was going through their like X-Men Legends or something. You know, it's like,
But didn't they mention that eventually that is something you'll even have to do in a console version? Is you're going to spend a lot of time pausing, kind of figuring out the strategy for each.
yeah,
attack.
it's more of a. They said it's more of a thing on your difficulty level. So if you're on casual or normal, you know, you can pretty much go and you know, swap, you know, characters manually and fight manually. Whereas, you know, if you're going on a harder setting, then you're going to have to pay a lot more attention to the rest of your team.
Yeah, the PR Kool-Aid kind of made it sound like you get almost like a different kind of combat system depending if you're playing on PC or Xbox. But if you want that PC experience on Xbox, it's still there. We have everything for you.
Yeah. Well, the thing that
Or
is
PS3.
very clearly different is that, you know, when you're on the console, you have quick access to 6 of your techniques that it put into different button slots. But, you know, like right on the PC, you know, you've got like the full number keys for all of those. So, you know, you can get to your abilities a little quicker on the PC for sure.
So I mean, this does sound exactly the same as the original version, where you'd have your different button slots, and then you'd hit I think it was the right bumper to access a whole other bunch of slots.
Yeah.
And then when you're playing with the 360, I mean, you could basically you'd set your tactics for your guys, you know, in advance. It's like, all right, so this is my brawler, he's going to go in, and when he hits like 25% health, he's going to use a health potion, or he's going to use a shield slam as the first attack. And you know, you have those tactics, and it was actually very, very streamlined, and it didn't take a huge amount of effort, you know, because the character classes were quite limited. With, you know, you'd have a magician, you'd have a ranged attacker, and you'd have the out and out warrior. It was actually very easy to figure out, all right, my ranged attacker, I want you to take him out with arrows, I want my magician's going to buff everybody. And you could just actually play it through like that and keep the tactics work the same almost all the way through the game.
Yeah, I actually they were saying, one of the things they were saying is that they were trying to make the rogue and the warrior to be just as, you know, I guess attractive as the mage.
They needed to separate them a little bit more, because the rogue in particular, I felt in the first one, was very underutilized.
Yeah, I started with the rogue, and I really liked the rogue. It, you know, very quick. You're able to like kind of do this move where you just like vanish and appear behind an enemy. You can also dodge out of the way really easily. But still, I'm not really feeling the warrior. I mean, I only played like 20-minute slices of each class, but
The warriors is always the very easy one. You just, you know, stick all the armor on him, send him off to battle. But everybody preferred to, I think, play the magician. So, is there any crossover from Dragon Age 1? So, you know, for example, if you've completed Dragon Age 1, like what I have, and my save games, you know, is there going to be something where perhaps one of my hero from Dragon Age 1, is that going to be referenced in any way, shape, or form? Is there any interaction? Because it would seem to be a wasted opportunity to me if they don't.
I didn't personally see anything like that. I've heard that that's the case. They're like, you know, things in the background, because it is going on at the same time. You're going to hear things cross over, but it's nothing that I can really confirm there. One thing that they did change, I guess, is the rivalry system. You know, you had to kind of keep your party happy.
Yeah.
In the first Dragon Age, and now you don't really have to do that. Like, you can either push them. They're saying you push them either towards friendship or towards rivalry, and either way. If they get towards one of those extremes, then they're going to get additional passive abilities.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason you'd want, in my experience of the first game, the only reason you'd actually build up the friendship or, you know, be nice to them is if you wanted to bang them. Seriously, that was the only benefit that I see.
So it's like real life,
basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now that everyone gets a passive ability, you know, if you manage to get them into one of those extreme zones.
So now you can min-max your relationships.
Bloodworth, you excited to play more of it?
Yeah, I think I'll download the demo when it comes out later and actually get a chance to play it on my PC and really dig into it some more.
So next up, Dark Souls, the sequel to the sleeper hit Demon Souls, one of Ryan's favorite games from the last couple of years.
Not technically a sequel.
Yeah.
Spiritual
Right.
successor because of copyright issues of Sony.
Right, but
which we'll get into later.
But right, we don't have to worry about that though.
Right.
This is really the next game in that series, so to speak. Now, Bloodworth, again, you got to see this game, and you're going on RPG Overload this week.
Yeah.
Ryan, I'm just going to let you fire away. Obviously, you're a big fan of the first game. You're probably going to get more out of Blood than any of us combined.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think I probably watched the trailer that they put out maybe 6 or 7 times. But
great trailer, by the way.
Oh, fantastic. And, one of the first things I asked Bloodworth, he got to see a demo of it. I mean, because the last game, again, kind of had a generic look, but it also it had some enticing things about it, but had horrible, jaggy physics when, people died, corpses riding on your sword arm and stuff like that. And it sounds like already, I know you said there's some frame rate issues, but it seems like it's already a kind of a pretty game.
Yeah. But first of all, let's take a step back. Remember, we were at Tokyo Game Show, and we saw Demon's Souls for the first time.
Horrible showing.
And that game looked atrocious. In fact, we laughed at that game. I took a camera guy over there to shoot it, and everyone was like, "You really want to shoot that thing?" And I was like,
barrel smashing gameplay.
"Yeah." I was like, "Why not? Let's be thorough. We'll
But
shoot everything." And then it turned out to be great.
The game's
so.
insane. First game was great, but everything I'm seeing in this one. They're talking about a giant world that's interconnected. They're talking about emphasizing more of the crazy weird multiplayer they had, which is you really haven't seen anything like that anywhere else. Maybe a little bit in Test Drive, but not exactly.
Of all games.
They're doing the things that you always want to hear in sequels. There's going to be way more weapons. They said they're going to try to have 100 monsters. Demon's Souls had 40, and for the big fans, I think one of the things I noticed in the trailer, or the screenshots in particular, in the trailer you see this giant crow, and in the screenshots there's a giant rat. And in Demon's Souls, there was a broken archstone which led you to the worlds, and the broken archstone was supposed to be the world of the giants. So I feel like with these kind of giant creatures, they're probably giving a little bit of fan service back. Like, you weren't able to ever do this in Demon's Souls, so we are putting this in here. And plus the combat, like that downward stab move and everything, is just really, really cool. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my big question for you, Daniel, is what did you see?
Yeah, basically it was a pretty long demo. I was surprised actually by how much they showed, and like you were saying, it does look a lot better. It looks like they really, because that game was successful, now they can actually give the game a budget, and put some good artwork and stuff in there. But yeah, they kind of started off in kind of a campsite, and they went up to this castle up on a hill. And there's this sleeping dragon there, and you actually do see that dragon in the trailer. And they're like, it's like, it's like you can see there's a treasure on the other side of him, if you want to wake him up and fight him. But right now, we're just gonna go underneath through this sewer.
See, that's funny because that's actually a real callback to the very first level in Demon's Souls, where these 2 dragons are guarding 100 treasures, and you go in there, you just get roasted up.
Yeah. But again, these guys, man, they're just everywhere along the way. They had a beefed up character for demo purposes, and everywhere along the way, it's like, oh yeah, that would kill you. This thing would kill you. This thing, would kill you. They're walking across this really narrow, broken castle wall, and there's some guys. They're having to fight some guys there, but then there's these other guys on a tower. They're firebombing them.
Are they just soldiers, or?
Yeah, just the undead soldiers, kind of the Skeleton Knight guys.
I think one of the interesting parts you told me, and you can see this in the trailer too, and in the screenshot, where the character is kind of still not too keen on some of the walking animations. I think they could take a lesson from Uncharted and kind of vary it up. Like when he's kind of balancing, it looks like he's just striding along. But Demon's Souls had a tiny bit of exploration, but here you were making it sound like if you fall down there, it's like you enter a whole another subsection.
Yeah, basically, one of the last areas they showed, there were these pendulum axes kind of things, like you'd see in Prince of Persia, and so you if you're careful with your timing, you can make it through those and across the bridge. If you get hit by them, it's not like you just fall off and you die in your bottomless pit thing. It's like you fall down to an area with harder traps and more stuff to deal with.
There's probably some good loot too.
Yeah. So
this is one of those it's like a masochistic game. It's like one of those games that keeps kicking your ass, and because it keeps kicking your ass, you just keep going back for more.
But but the gameplay's so good. I kind of, after playing I played all of the Korean version, and I played the review code, and I bought the retail. So I played the game 3 times, which is a little crazy. I realized the controls. It kind of takes everything I liked from Zelda's combat, but made it a little more like you could actually die or fail. Mm-hmm. But it also kind of reminds me, this is going to sound a little stupid, but it reminds me of almost like a slower paced Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, where it's still expert timing's needed. It's just kind of at a slower pace, and we're like shielding and dodging is just so much more important. I'm really excited about is you saw a great big demo. We saw that's a pretty long trailer, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah. By now that people listening to this are watching this have seen it 5 times.
And we've it's you can pick out so many things that it's reoccurring from Demon Souls, like this summoning people, and they've answered so many questions, but they've also skirted around so much that there's still so many question marks, but they've shown so much. I mean, I realize I'm gushing at this point, but I'm so excited. I mean, like, if we could redo our anticipated list and it has a 2011 release date, I mean, that would really be up there competing with, the Uncharted's and the whatnots that we decorated that list with.
I don't think I've ever seen you this excited about a game. I mean, you're always, very verbose, but I think you're actually trembling.
Yes. There has not been a game this good since Trinity from Infocom, and that game didn't even have fucking graphics.
The numerous hairs on your very hairy forearms are standing up.
My mongrel Jewish ancestry speaks for me. Yeah, I don't know.
What do you want to see with the online? And did I talk about it?
They didn't really get into depth about it at all.
I mean,
it sounded like, some of the stuff has been changed, but it's essentially the same kind of structure.
They just did an interview. See, you got to talk to someone from Namco, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. The only reason I was talking to a Namco guy is because the From Software guy is camera shy. So he was sitting right there, and every one of your questions that he didn't know the answer to, he just asked the From Software guy.
They did a big interview in some Japanese website, and he gave this really kind of slippery answer where he's like, hey, everyone knows Lord of the Rings, right? Frodo has to bring the one ring and throw it into the volcano, but the Nazgul have to go and stop Frodo from doing that because they want the ring. And they were kind of like, but the Nazgul are evil and Frodo's good. But imagine if you had kind of opposing tasks, but one player wasn't necessarily a bad guy, just different goals. So I think, for a huge spoiler for people who haven't played Demon Souls, but one of the crazy parts was in the boss World 3, Level 3, could be a player. You could actually fight a player as a boss. And it seems like they're going to, instead of just having PvP, it seems like there's going to be some sort of like goal-based stuff that has you opposed.
Yeah.
But while the single-player game is going on, as opposed to something like Capture the Flag or something, which is more of an objective-based team thing.
They show this one spell, too, at the very end where they actually turn the guy into a vase and then put him in a group of vases, and that kind of thing is really only useful for multiplayer, like to hide from other
that
players
seems like a
and
little
then maybe
Kojima-esque.
come around behind them and stab them in the back.
Yeah, I really can't wait. I don't think they're gonna mess it up. I mean, they did the first game, some graphical problems, some problems just understanding the game. Multiplayer was confusing, crafting was confusing, but there was a lot of tender loving care in there.
This is taking forever. Time to stop pissing around and get this big guy back into action.
All right, boys. So I thought maybe this day would never come. I'm sure there are tens of thousands of people out there who also thought this day would never come.
You got pubes.
Well, that. And, ladies and gentlemen, we have played Duke Nukem Forever.
I did.
Hands
Again,
on.
actually, I played it at PAX as well.
Right. In Vegas at a strip club, no less.
Yes, at the the very.
I want to know which strip club.
It's called Titty City. Actually,
Catchy.
I forgot what the place was actually called, but they rebranded everything. They actually had neon signs and everything. So
No Spearmint Rhino, apparently.
No, it was the Titty City.
No, wait, I shouldn't go on.
Did you see any titties?
No,
Only
I
in game.
I did not see any titties, but I did.
We should have a little
I did,
counter at the
however-
bottom of the screen covering how many times we said the word
I
titties.
did.
Yes.
However, as a miniature Duke, because you get shrunk down in a little race car, I drove under the twins that are recurring characters in the series, and they were not wearing underwear, but they also had the anatomy of a Barbie doll. So it kind of made me wonder why the aliens are stealing our women to impregnate them when I don't think it's going to be much of a go. But
Ryan, is this game a piece of crap?
no, it is not a piece of crap. It is.
That's my next
It
question.
is a definitely a throwback. I'm going to give the graphics a pass at this point. We were playing on 360, and it looked worse than when I saw it at PAX when they were playing it on souped up PCs. It's not optimized. They have months to go. The game is a lot like the original Duke Nukem 3D in the fact that there's a lot of wacky stuff you can do. There's a lot of exploration and combat. Well, let's put it this way: the first two bosses I fought. Here's the pro tip. Sorry, Game Pro. Circle strafing with rockets.
sounds
Never
like
would have
serious
thought you
So-
might want to use that strategy
Yeah,
in a Duke Nukem game.
Combat still seems a little off. There's some fun power-ups. Beer gives you the, we've seen it a million times now. It gives you the blurry vision, but it makes you, makes you tougher. You can take more damage and stuff. And then there's steroids, which are great,
Nice.
which make you basically have Berserk from Quake, crazy melee.
Roid rage.
But the game it asks you to explore the environment because that's how you get permanent health increases. So instead of just finding these funny Easter eggs, I was in Duke's gym and I made a basket. Anyone who played Half-Life 2 has probably done that with the gravity gun. Got a health bonus, signed an autograph, looked at myself in the mirror, played some Duke Nukem pinball. They have a full functioning pinball game.
Cool.
And then, it's a lot like Duke. There's a ton of one-liners. I said pork chop sandwiches later. They're referencing the freaking YouTube Fleischer film PSA.
From the early 2000s.
Yes, there's some, of course, there's the They Live.
Can you tell that this game has been made across the better
I mean,
more than a decade?
They haven't
are
been
there
working
references to things that happened in
but they've only-
1999.
They've only been actively working on it, for a couple years. And I asked if any of the design docs from the original stuff were still incorporated, and he's like, a little bit of the plot's still there, but I mean, it was a new game designed from the ground up.
So I was curious that they made it a throwback like that, right?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. My actual experience with the original Duke Nukem 3D was I only had 4 megs of RAM with the shareware version, and I couldn't play it with enemies. I actually played, this is really depressing, I played the entire shareware campaign with the no enemies flag, for anyone who remembers DOS. And I still had a good time. I mean, obviously it wasn't as fun, but they had great level design, all this weird stuff to explore, some kind of great kind of scenery puzzle elements. And it's kind of the same way here, where there's some things off to the side, they kind of funnel you forward, but I spent half the game shrunk down, racing a race car, trying to avoid getting stomped on. There's even some platforming sections where you're trying to open switches as you're the miniature Duke, and you're still duking it out with rats who are trying to bite you. But it's not a typical shooter. What I'm worried about is, obviously, there's some older guys who have been following Duke Nukem forever, but the core player now who is used to these games where you shoot people in the motherfucking face a lot. This is a puzzle-heavy first-person shooter, and those have not been with apologies to Valve, I mean the Half-Life games have been able to incorporate them well. Yeah. But I look at a game like I just played Singularity, which kind of had a puzzle aspect, and that thing bombed hardcore. There will be a multiplayer aspect. They won't say much. They say there's going to be some crazy metagame built around it, whatever the fuck that means.
Dare I have you
want to
summarize the plot of the game?
The aliens are back and they took our women.
Oh.
Impregnating them.
So,
So, I know what.
I like women. They're cool.
And they're my
mother's a woman.
Does it play anything like Bulletstorm? I'm just curious.
Well, that's the other thing is Bulletstorm has that same sort of rowdy,
I can see a lot of similarities
humor.
between the two.
And I'll say one thing: it definitely looks a lot better.
Yeah.
At this point, a big disclaimer: I'm sure they're gonna. The game looked pretty decent on the PC back at PAX, and that was still pretty early on. I'm gonna say one thing: as rough as some of the parts seem, I still want to play it.
I'm not criticizing the game. I am stoked for the game. I love that between both Bulletstorm and Duke Nukem, we are returning to this kind of 80s machismo, balls to the wall, blow shit up, be crude and offensive, offend the shit out of the PC brigade, and I don't mean personal computer. I mean the fucking politically correct mob. So yeah, I think the game is going to be a shitload of fun. Well, I hope it's a shitload of fun because I'm gonna, I want to get it day one. I want to go back. I did actually download Duke Nukem from Good Old Games a couple of months ago, and it's unfucking playable.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
I mean, it's not a question of the graphics or anything like that. I mean, the gameplay is still a lot of fun, but
there's no WASD at that point, right?
Yeah, it's the keys. it's all about using, especially if you're on a gaming laptop, using the cursors where you don't have a real number pad. Mm-hmm. It's fucking insane.
I mean, this is probably going to be the guilty pleasure of 2011, right?
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's thinking it's going to line up for any Game of the Year awards.
No, I'm just curious. Despite me wanting to play it, I'm just curious if in the end it's going to be a financial disaster for 2K.
Do people even know who the hell Duke Nukem is anymore?
I think they were smart with letting people play it at PAX and being like, it's playable. It's fun out of the box. It's got all this crazy shit happening. I think they've been doing a good job getting that word out. I just don't know if people...
What percentage of people who buy games on
a
weekly basis do you guys think have ever played a Duke Nukem game?
10%.
Well, if you think
10% of people that buy games on a weekly basis, you think, have played a Duke Nukem.
I don't even
Well,
buy games on a weekly
yeah,
basis.
All right,
Let's say monthly basis.
You think of how old, how the demographic has got older. I mean, our demographic. You've played Duke Nukem.
Of course, yeah.
Shane, Ryan, you've played Duke Nukem.
I've only played it because it came out on Xbox 360, Duke Nukem 3D.
Okay, so you've I mean, so
I
that's
toyed around with it.
Blood. You're still here. Have you played Duke Nukem?
I haven't actually played it. No.
All right, so
No.
out of 4 or 5 people here who are
This is also what we do for a living.
But we're also we're also hardcore gamers. That's what we do, and there are a lot of people out there who are still hardcore gamers. Will it shift Modern Warfare numbers? No, but will it do reasonably well? I think it probably will. I think
Will it turn a profit after 10 plus years of development?
Well, I think the deal to get hold of it, probably cancel out a lot of old things.
Right, but
like,
think about all the money that has been invested in this game from the beginning, not
Yeah.
just what 2K's invested in it.
But that's the thing is,
does
that's
it ever have a chance
that's
of making
all-
a profit?
Well, that's all
tough.
you got to look at it as is 2K's investment, because everybody else with bankruptcies and everything, they're not entitled to shit.
Right.
So if 2K makes a profit, more power to them. And if it keeps 2K out of, say, Activision's hands, I'm say go out and buy this fucking game.
I bet it'll be better than Prey. Another game that took forever to come out.
Yeah, I would hope so.
It's gonna be better than
And it's
Prey.
coming out at a good time too in May, before the whole holiday rush or anything. So if it reaches its target date, I think it'll do pretty well.
It's going to be a fun game to play over the summer. Drink your beer, do a bong hit,
your
and
bubble gum.
Exactly, kick ass and chew bubble gum. I mean, is there anything more apt? I mean, let's face it, we need something. We need games like this in Bulletstorm to cheer us the fuck up. Because let's face it, games have become too fucking serious most of the time.
I'd agree with that. Too serious and too dreary.
Dick tits.
Did you think I was gone forever?
Kev, there was a rumor you were going to show up.
Peter, you can't believe everything you read on the internet.
I'd like to bring this session to order. The Invisible Walls Court is hereby in session.
Does this make
Order?
you? Does this make
Order.
you?
I'll have a ham on rye.
Welcome to Video Game Court TV with your correspondent Shane Harvey Levin Satterfield.
Let's just
Oh,
Judge
God.
Judy then.
Dear Rispanelas.
Right there, bro.
So the big story. Sony suing the world. Sony suing YouTube, suing Twitter, trying to get these websites to give up the personal information of people who have tweeted or posted or even responded to video posts on YouTube regarding jailbreaking the PlayStation 3. Look, you can't sue the world.
No.
They're trying.
Look, we had a little bit of a discussion before the show, which we tried not to do about this, but we kind of couldn't help it. I think the main issue I have with this, I don't have a big issue with them trying to protect their IP, trying to make sure people don't pirate games. The problem I have is that you can't go after the people who have commented on videos on YouTube.
That's a little bit
Extreme?
reactionary.
Ryan, what was your analogy for that?
We were talking about piracy's illegal, but you kill the pirates, you don't kill the guys who built their ships.
Built their ships, right? It's ludicrous.
Or in this case, some person who's looked at the ship and said, "That's a nice boat."
Yeah.
But
Sony just wants to look ultra powerful.
I-
So like we could go after whoever and whomever we want to,
Exactly.
and it's like a full deterrent.
I've
They just
watched
wanna-
Scare tactic.
I've
right?
watched
Yeah.
enough episodes of Picket Fences on Hulu to know that, even if the judge says you can't do it, the jury, the public opinion, everyone sees it. I don't know what they're doing by like beating their chests, trying to be like, we're going after fucking everyone, but it's obviously a strategic move that some lawyer thinks is a good idea.
Well, I think maybe they don't think that they could possibly win this stuff, but I think if the word gets out that, they're prosecuting everybody, I can't even comment on one of these videos on YouTube, they're going to come after me, I think that's enough. They're not going to win, but I think deterring people from doing it, they feel is
it's
a
like
victory.
when the RIAA would sue 3 people and then 100,000 people stop using Napster or something.
Right, when
like
a
back in
mom
the
with
day.
20 kids, got a fine that was $400 million, and she's like, I have to sell my children to pay that. It's like they couldn't do that to everybody, but they felt like the scare factor was a deterrent enough to keep other people from doing it. And then today, Kevin Butler, who
Well, the person who controls the Kevin Butler
Right, Twitter
tweet, which
account.
I don't think is actually the poor actor who plays Kevin Butler.
Right.
That
The
would
Kevin
be-
Butler Twitter account today actually retweeted the jailbreak code for the PlayStation 3. Basically, he was totally set up. Somebody sent it to him. He thought it was a game of online Battleship because it had the Q4, the D3. All the code was like Q4, D3, F1, blah, blah, blah.
That's not the actual code, Sony, in case you're thinking you're
Right.
suing us, all right?
He thought it was a game of battle, or whoever it is that runs that account thought they were playing online Battleship and retweeted it, basically retweeting. So now what, did they sue Kevin Butler?
Well, no, they just sued
sue-
the member of staff on Sony's marketing tweet team. But, let's face it, Sony and good PR wouldn't know each other if they fucked each other up the ass. Look, at the end of the day, hacking a PS3 is illegal. It's, people may say, oh, it's freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, somebody else's property, somebody else's intellectual property, and they're hacking it. That's not something that we can condone.
But is the hacking illegal, or is running
Sharing
the
all the
illegal
information,
software
yeah.
and sharing that information illegal? That's
'Cause
where it
they were
gets
doing-
dicey.
they were
Because
doing-
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
iPhone, they
Well,
jailbroke it,
I
and
think
they
the-
determined in court that was
the
perfectly
hacking
legal.
is perceived as illegal, and I'm no legal expert here, but
Trade
it's,
secrets or
it's
something like that.
perceived as illegal because it's the main use they're trying to establish for having a jailbreak PS3 is it jailbroken? Is to use pirate games, is to pirate software. I mean, a lot of people say, well, I want to put another OS on there, I want to
Or
be
is it
able
to pirate
to
software,
store
or
stuff.
is it to play software from other territories?
This,
I mean,
this
there's some
is
gray area.
there is so many gray areas, but what Sony are trying to establish is if you jailbreak your PS3, you're doing it because you want to pirate games, which I think that's a bit of a pain in the ass. But
Probably
see both sides
80% of the time they're probably right, but there is another 20%.
Yeah.
And, that's the other thing. When the PS3 first launched, you could load, you could screw around with it and actually use it as almost like a computer. Now they've taken that.
You could put another OS on it very easily, and then they
Linux?
They took
they
it
put
away.
the update on it and just totally screwed it over.
So it's kind of interesting that they're now, they launched the system with that ability, and now these people have jailbroken or did the PS3 to do that, and they're saying, oh, well, we're going to sue your ass.
I don't think they're going to get dick out of Twitter or YouTube.
No.
They're not going to get anything. They're not going to get these things. And
it would be a shame if YouTube or Twitter did give up the identities of these people. I hope to God that they can fight it and protect their users.
I don't think they will. I think Sony have bitten off a little more than they can chew. I mean, by the same logic, Sony could sue us for commenting on the jailbreak story. And that's just that's setting such an ugly precedent.
That would really suck.
That would suck at
Don't
balls.
give them ideas, man.
So the next story, Fox News, our good friends at Fox News.
Oh, we love you,
Most
Fox News.
reliable source of news anywhere.
Fair,
Yes.
balanced.
Never let a good news
Not
story get
opinionated.
in the way of
the facts.
sensationalism.
Yeah, so the story is was it a Fox reporter who decided to go after Bulletstorm, saying that because you can shoot someone in the crotch, it's going to lead people to rape each other? Is that the
Well,
basic gist of it?
they're calling it the worst video game in history right
Yeah,
now.
a guy named John Brandon. So
Thank
if you
God
know-
they haven't played more video games.
Yeah, basically the story is in their personal text section is Bulletstorm the worst video game in the world? And then he goes
Superman
through
64.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but he's basically talks about that Bulletstorm is gruesome with body parts that explode, and they've got the naming
Okay.
convention. So if you shoot a whole bunch of people, it's called a gangbang. And so this is the line that just cracked me up and sent me over the fucking edge, because you sent this story to me, Shane.
I know.
You wound me up yesterday because
Yeah, I
I
know.
sit in here and I'm like, all right, so basically they went and they interviewed Miss Rent-A-Quote herself, Carol Lieberman, a doctor, and I use that term very,
Very
very loosely. Allegedly. I think she got her doctorate off the internet after sending in 5 buckets of KFC or something.
5 UPC symbols from Cap'n Crunch. Allegedly.
Yeah, she basically told FoxNews.com that sexual situations and acts in video games, of which there are none in Bulletstorm, it's a
None.
fucking shooter with some sexual terminology that's very tongue-in-cheek. I mean, and again, I think this is just, the uptight PC crowd, whether they be Democrat or Republican, just having their heads up their asses and not having a sense of fucking humor. Allegedly. And basically, she says that sexual situations and acts in video games, highlighted so well in Bulletstorm, bullshit, have led to real-world sexual violence. This is her quote: "The increase in rapes can be attributed in large part to the playing out of sexual scenes in video games," she said, with no examples. She basically just says that, and let's talk about sexual situations in video games.
There are like 3.
Yeah, well, let me see. I saw some side boob in Mass Effect. That's it. I'm off to fuck a chicken.
Yeah.
Maybe they're referring to GTA 4's full frontal, or
Well, there's
some of their sexually...
God of War. Battle Raper from Japan. Let's not let her know about that
That's
game.
not available. That's not available in this country.
Right.
Fear Effect, you had to drop your towel to distract guards with your delicious tatas. Allegedly.
They were lesbians, however.
Well, the lesbians weren't until Fear Effect 2.
Oh, that's right.
She was closeted
That's
in the
when they
first game.
crossed the line, yeah.
Then, well, we can't forget Pyramid Head. I don't know if it's rape, but he's doing something with those dudes. Allegedly.
But has anybody gone off to want to actually rape somebody? I mean, I find this woman morally reprehensible. She, to me, is basically a dumb shit, and I'm calling her Carol Lieberman. You're a friggin' dumb shit, allegedly. Because at the end of the day, you're just out to hawk your fucking your book. Allegedly. You do zero research, and I did reach out to EA, who very kindly provided me with the information that none of these Nimrods on this story have actually played Bulletstorm in any way, shape, or form. They've not been anywhere near it. They
didn't bother to ask any of those people that.
Yeah, they didn't go to EA.
So
so
you played the game that isn't even released yet?
John Brandon, who is supposed to be a tech writer, hasn't played the fucking game, didn't reach out to EA, so why doesn't he suck my left nut? And in fact, he can suck my right nut, too.
What are they going off? Like trailers and screenshots?
Even if they did that, what are they
something
going
a homeless guy said.
They probably got a Twitter comment and were like, let's run with it.
Yeah, let's do this.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. If anything, it's just giving the game more publicity, and it's just raising more awareness for it. It's like, hey, check out, it's the worst game in history.
I'm sure someone at EA right now is stroking like a cat. And
EA are laughing their asses off on this. I mean, I think the next thing is you'll find that they'll be saying that Barack Obama plays Bulletstorm while hiding the fact that he's a Muslim and he likes to rape kitty cats.
Yeah.
That's the next story.
It's pretty sad when a show like Invisible Walls shows a major news outlet like Fox News how to be fair and balanced.
I don't think Fox News can be termed as a news outlet, and I find it really ironic because again, you look at the Fox News department, which is basically the Fourth Reich, and then you look at the Fox Drama and Entertainment division, which has some of the more cutting edge shows like Family Guy, some of the more risque stuff. I mean, they obviously have that pile of shit Glee, but we won't even talk about that. But they do have shows that kind of like push the boundaries and are kind of gory, and it's amazing that these two sort of like one funds the other. And
I'll do you one better. Together. If you listen to Fox Sports talk radio, they lay into Fox News. Yeah, I'm sure that's exciting for you, Ryan. They lay into Fox News every day and make fun of Fox News, and they're technically a part of that division. So I don't think we're so out of line to try to take them to task here.
I don't think we're out of line at all, but I don't think they should be called a news thing. But anyway, I mean, this is just part of the course.
Well, the bottom line is it's going to sell more games for EA. That's the ultimate kick in the pants for Fox News, is they don't even realize they're being used as a pawn. I mean, this was forwarded to me via email by EA yesterday.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they're trying to hide it.
Smart PR
and it
people.
wasn't like they didn't try to spin it. They didn't put any of their own commentary. They're like, hey, thought you might want to take a look at this. And I'm like, oh, yes, as a matter of fact, I do.
And and without us being, we can't be unbalanced. I mean, I will say that in the story, he does reach out to Hal Halpin, who is the president of the ECA. He has a quote in there. And then, said there are some people who, following up who say that, these games do not, they're not for kids. They are for, adults, and these adults don't go out and do stupid stuff. But I would say to any person like Carol Lieberman, maybe, if you are a mental health professional, as you're supposed to be, maybe it's a better idea to push for legislation that stops mentally deficient people getting their hands on real guns as opposed to video game guns.
All right, party people, that's going to do it for episode 146 of Invisible Walls. Episode 150 coming up real soon. If you guys have any ideas on what you'd like us to do other than show us recording on camera, I think we've already got that one about 1 million times already.
Yeah, feel free to post that on the Facebook group or respond to the Twitter, because I know Ryan loves reading all those comments.
Yo.
Yep, GDC is coming up pretty soon as well. As always, we'll be on site ripping out the 24/7 coverage, literally 24/7, posting stuff around the clock, much to the chagrin of our editorial team, but much to the advancement of your video game knowledge. So make sure you check us out for GDC. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Invisible Walls is up and out.